one is very, very silent, you can hear the faintest sounds like the drop of water on a pond. In the same way, when we are very silent, we can hear the voice of the heart. Some call it intuition, some call it the conscience. But it is a natural intelligence, a voice of wisdom that is tucked deep inside of us. And it is there as a compass to guide us towards an elevated and beautiful life. It is there to guide us towards a life that reflects the beauty and goodness of our souls. When we listen to this voice, there is always success and benefit. But to hear it, we need a simple practice. The practice of going beyond sound daily. Take a moment now and slow your breath down. Allow all your tension to melt away as your body becomes loose and limp and relaxed. And take your mind to a place far, far away from the world of sound, beyond conversations and chatter, beyond even the sound of your own thoughts. Take your mind to a place where silence can soak into your being. And carry you to that core of stillness that is who you are. Allow that silence to seep into every corner of your heart until you are just simply existing as a spiritual being, free of the sound of commentaries in your mind, far, far beyond the sounds of the world, in a space of sacred stillness. To learn to listen to the intuition, we have to become very silent and to go beyond even the physical dimension. So that we can completely clear the mind. Imagine that the world of form around you dissolves and you find yourself in a sea of silence, an even higher, deeper silence than you just experienced moments ago. A peace that relaxes and massages the heart. And allow yourself to enter into this deeply. This practice of going beyond sound daily cleans the mind and prepares us to hear that voice of the heart that is sometimes as quiet as a small drop in a pond. It's a simple practice we just have to remember. From your space of silence right now, ask yourself a question that you've been pondering, something that you've been wanting to understand. Ask yourself a question in the silence and just listen. Listen quietly for any images that may come up. any responses to the question. And pay attention not only in this moment, but throughout this week, having posed the question from a space of silence. Pay attention to any clarity that arises from that space and allow your intuition to guide you towards a beautiful life.
Good afternoon, everyone. Om Shanti. Welcome to Brahmakumari Silicon Valley's Vitamins for Smart Parenting. Today, we will focus on vitamin D for depression. And let's, as always, start off with a meditation. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Let's sit comfortably and take few deep breaths. Inhale and exhale. One more time. Inhale and exhale. Visualize with every breath out, all the burdens are getting released, and the mind is becoming super light. Let go of home, people, work, gadgets, body discomfort, even the internal chatter in the mind. Let it all go. Let nothing disturb us from observing silence. It's time to be with the most valuable and beautiful being, I, the soul. In the journey of life, I developed many habits and personality traits, and I, the smart business man, woman, chose the habits thinking they were profitable, that they brought lot of benefit, I, the soul, is profitable, comfortable when I am peaceful, loving, happy, and joyful. So I thought, eating a lot, sleeping a lot, shopping a lot, watching gadgets a lot, scrolling a lot would give me immense amount of happiness, peace, and love. Ironically, instead of satisfying me, these habits have made me greedy, dependent. No matter how much I sleep, eat, shop, possess, scroll, watch, listen, my inner being is discontented. It wants the real thing. Where do I find it? Every external source is perishable, is constantly changing, and I, the imperishable source, an eternal light, can never be satisfied through perishable sources. I, the smarter than the smartest business person, now realizes that I need to rely on an imperishable source that makes me independent, fills my belly. The Supreme Soul, God, the highest spiritual energy, is the only imperishable source of peace, love, happiness, and joy. The Supreme Soul is ever pure with beautiful personality traits. So when I sit in front of the eternal light showing right in front of me, the color of his company colors me makes me reach out internally to find everything that I need. I am naturally pure, peaceful, loving, and a happy soul. Welcome everyone to Vitamins for Smart Parenting. Like I just said, some of you joined just some time back, but today we are going to be focusing on the deficiency depression. So I kind of think of all of these deficiencies as parenting deficiencies. We talked about anger the first week, then we talked about burden. When we start finding parenting as a burden or a bondage, and then we talked about criticism. It's again another kind of parenting deficiency. And today we are talking about depression. Now, this is really an extreme form um, that I'm hoping is not prevalent in any one of us when it comes to this really, the intense form of being sad. And it has a labeled disease called depression. And we will talk about this deficiency today. Simple terms, if you want to define it, it is really the inability of us to experience any kind of even the slightest happiness, even during really good times. There might be some really great things going on, but I cannot feel happiness even in those occasions. That is when it's a huge symptom indicating that I might be affected by depression. So, root cause of depression, right? So, if we don't want to really think about this as a big thing, even sadness, it is like you can say, right? We take some baby steps before we reach a end goal. Here, depression, which is not really the goal we want to reach, but if we are taking steps towards it, then it's good to be aware of it. So, things where we are creating lot of sadness, we have this feeling inside of us that we are not good enough, and this feeling could have been with us from childhood. It could be for variety of different reasons. It could, the reason could not just be, not having a great relationship with parents or the caretaker. That could be one of the reasons, but there are many different reasons which cause us to have this sense of really, really low self esteem, where we find ourselves not good enough at all. We try to stay aloof and alone. So, there are multiple reasons which cause us to get sad. And in the interest of time, we just kind of here selected two things. One is guilt. This is basically nothing but anger at the self, really, really unhappy with the self, constantly repenting that I have not done enough. No matter, I might be overall doing things for family, doing things at work, maybe getting even some financial support, providing some financial support, or maybe doing a lot of things at home. But in spite of me doing things, there's this constant repentance that I am not doing enough, or might have made some mistakes. Maybe I yelled at the kids, or really, really hurt them, or maybe hurt someone else, or maybe I have spoiled work, um, at work, in the office. Multiple reasons. If we have this personality trait of guilt, then there is a constant negative talk internally going on. And that talk is saying basically, you are no good and it'll label ourselves as you're insensitive, you're rude, you're careless, you don't have any heart, you're insensitive, you're foolish, you're dumb. There are different kinds of labels, and this is a attack at ourselves. If someone is constantly talking ill about us, we can at least avoid that person, or we can avoid listening to them, kind of, close off our ears, move away from there. But if I myself is talking ill towards to myself, then what do I do? Where do I run? I am with myself 24 by 7, right? And that is one of the biggest reasons gadgets have become very popular. People don't want to listen what this mind is saying about me, about my past, about my future. So we say, here, be distracted, watch something, talk to someone, but don't talk to me. So this really causes us to feel a lot of sadness. And so highly recommend, it could, again, like we said, it is baby steps that we might be taking towards becoming a depressed parent. And very eye opening fact, 1 in 5 kids live with a depressed parent. This is really a very alarming number. I was shocked to see it. I also read that in US, 1 in 4, that is pretty much every family, there is at least one individual who's facing depression. So this is not something that is, we feel, oh, it's not a big thing that's going to affect me. And again, this is not to scare any one of you, but really, awareness is very important. It prevents us from going to that extreme situation where coming back out of it takes a lot of time, and it causes a lot of havoc in the family as well meanwhile, right? So if we can avoid it, it is good. And that is why spiritual knowledge opens our eyes. It tells us everything. The second reason that also leads towards depression, or again sadness, is when we have lot of attachment with the kid. Now, attachment, I think we've talked about this in our multiple classes, but I think it's such a big thing which exists in pretty much everyone, that it is never um, a loss. It's never kind of a loss equation where I would go through this concept again. So, attachment basically here says that if my child is happy, then I am happy. And if my child is sad, I am sad. It could be attachment to multiple people. One could be to my kids themselves, and also to my parents, to my spouse, to my friends. So if they are happy, then I can be happy. And if they are sad, I become very sad too. And this attachment can lead to multiple different kinds of things. It leads to a lot of obsessiveness as well, where you become insecure when the child is moving slightly away from you, because they're your source of happiness. And so if they are giving a lot of importance to somebody else but not you, you feel insecure. So it could be multiple things, and this could lead to constant conflicts with the child. And the child, once they become teenagers, they start, when they're seeing a lot of this control due to attachment, where are you going? Because constantly attachment leads to fear as well, which we will talk in a week, or in 2 weeks. It leads to fear as well, that something might happen to the child. So lot of the moment I am attached emotionally to someone, I start creating a lot of boundaries for them, because I feel if they go beyond this boundary, they will be unsafe. So I want them to be within my vicinity, and I create that boundary. I decide what that safety is. So because of those boundaries, a lot of teenagers start talking in an ill manner. They might even, you know, speak a lot of disrespectful words, and that creates a lot of hurt in the parents. And when we hold on to, one is guilt, where I am attacking myself. And then the second is the one I was so attached to, and I felt I was doing everything for them. But we don't realize I'm not doing everything just for them, actually. I'm doing it because if they are not happy, I am not happy. So there is a bound of like really lot of selfishness in that. I don't know how to be happy unless the kids are doing okay. Now, one might think, what are we talking about? Should we be jumping when our child is going through a tough time? Is that what spirituality is? Absolutely not. That is insensitivity. What this basically means is, if my child is going through a really, really tough time, then there are different ways to bring them out. And let's talk about it more in the vitamin section, where we talk about how to overcome this. But in general, one is attacking the self, and one is when the teenager or the kids start behaving in a very disrespectful manner. And maybe even my parents or my spouse, whom I'm very attached to, I think in my own eyes, I feel I'm doing everything for them. My life is only for them. And then they feel suffocated in my boundaries, where I'm trying to control everything. And they start yelling at me. I feel hurt, very, very sad, hopeless. And this feeling, whenever we register anything negatively, this is our design. We, the souls, are misaligned. Every time we go negative, it is a misalignment. So if you think about your body, right? If your body posture is not aligned well, you experience a lot of pain. The body will constantly tell you, either correct your posture, go to a doctor, exercise, fix it. Otherwise, the body constantly reminds the mind, right, that it is uncomfortable. Similarly, when the soul is experiencing lot of negativity, I am a spiritual energy. If I am experiencing lot of negativity, constantly the mind brings that negativity from the subconscious mind, pushes that negativity in my mind and says, Meghna, can you please clear it? I'm so sad because this person said this to me, they shouldn't have said. And how do I handle it? Either I ignore, I try to immediately distract myself with more sad stories, listen to sad songs, call someone, tell them about how sad my life is. So I've not taken care of that. Again confirmed that indeed that was a very terrible negative situation. So one more time, it gets recorded in my subconscious that my life is filled with sadness. People ill treat me. Nobody likes me. So all of these things where I am losing hope or I'm feeling very, very guilty, they lead to a lot of sadness. And if this is not really taken care of, and if I am living in my own melancholy, then it can cause a lot of problems and lead towards depression. Symptoms and sustenance, we a lot of times sustain symptoms, like kind of quickly going over it. um, this, I kind of briefly talked about it. A feeling of not being good enough existed from childhood. This is some of the symptoms that we can recognize it. Inability to forgive the self or others, constantly wanting to be alone, not feeling like eating anything, cannot focus on anything, and basically not able to feel anything, even in really great occasions, great news, I'm not feeling much at all. There is an inside sadness that refuses to go. And what are some beliefs that sustain, or in other words, increase or push us towards depression? So these kind of beliefs we all might be having. It's good to check if I am living by these beliefs, because if internally I believe in them, then my response will match with the beliefs. My thoughts are completely aligned with the belief systems that I have internally. So if my belief is, I strongly believe that suppose I believe that my life is very challenging, difficult, stressful. Suppose this is my strong belief. It could be because of my some past, could be even in my present I'm seeing it. So if I have this belief, what happens? It basically, in the beginning, obviously, we didn't have this belief, hopefully, but maybe we developed it after facing some challenges. Now, if I have registered, every challenge I saw, I have registered is life is difficult, impossible. My life is terrible. Suppose I kept registering it like this. Now, even a small situation comes in my life, and that could be as simple as my child not doing well in one of the subjects, or my child developing some habit which is not that great. It's not a huge thing. Suppose it was a small thing. Even those things, I will immediately say, oh my gosh, my life is really sad, depressing, one after the other, some or the other problem comes in my life. So, till I don't let go of these beliefs, my life is not going to change. If I'm holding on to this idea that life is supposed to be difficult, sorrow is a huge part of life, everyone's life is filled with sorrow. It is not at all possible to always be peaceful and content. If these are my beliefs, guess what? This is what my thoughts will be. My thoughts will say life is stressful. My thoughts will say huge part of life is sorrow. There is no escape from it. And when I listen to someone who says, no, we can be happy, I have another belief system. Impossible. What are you talking about? Not possible to be peaceful and content. For me, even before coming to this spiritual path, I always had this belief that my life is meant to be beautiful. And I'm not claiming that I always was happy or peaceful, but that belief that I had really caused me to take full responsibility of my life and fix it. So it didn't mean that I was not sad at times or mad at times or going through stress. Yes, I did. But I said my life is meant to be beautiful, so I'll immediately start course correcting. Now, with this knowledge, I actually know how to avoid those turns in life which I know will cause me to become sorrowful. So, one belief I would highly recommend all of you to have: life is beautiful. It only teaches me beautiful lessons. It is there to help and guide me. Happiness is the major part of life. There is nothing that will cause me to go sad. I will figure it out and come out of it. And it is 100% possible to always be peaceful and content. And yes, this might be a very lofty goal for some people who are mostly restless, stressed, sad. But till we don't keep lofty goals, we will never ever be able to let go of sadness and depression from our lives. So, highly recommend you all to practice meditation if you're not already. I'm hoping some of you registered for yesterday's Raj Yoga meditation courses started yesterday at Brahma Kumaris. If you haven't, please feel free to register even now. The second class is today. They always offer makeup classes for the ones who have missed it. So most welcome to register, and Pallavi sister in the background will share the links with you on chat. So please keep an eye on it. So in meditation, every day remind yourself, correct your belief systems. Otherwise, sadness will continue to be part of our life. And if majority of our time is being spent in sadness, then we are basically moving towards depression. Now, damages from depression, I'm pretty sure they are self-explanatory. I think majority of us already know, but just kind of because we are talking about this subject, I just want to include it here as well. In general, for a person who is depressed, life will indeed seem very, very difficult. Every step will feel like a drag. Why? Because again, body feels pain when the posture is not aligned properly. Imagine a backbone that is bending too much in one direction or the other, that is not straight. Our legs are, when we are walking, are not in balance. Our hands are not in the neutral position when we are using technology. All of these things make us so uncomfortable, right? Similarly, when a soul is experiencing sadness, we are metaphysical energy, emotional beings. So if I am experiencing sadness, mean I am completely misaligned from my natural posture. And what is our natural posture? Happiness. And I think I might have said many times, but I don't mind repeating because it's an important point. None of us, before sleeping, will invite sadness to come our way. Hey, I've been too happy this whole day. If I became little sad, I will fall off asleep quickly. Or if you go and talk to anyone in this world, what do you want? Would you want some sadness, please? If it was our natural quality to be sad, if we were comfortable, if that posture of staying in sadness was comfortable, we would invite it. In fact, we would fight and work hard to be sad. Is there anyone in this world who's working to be sad? Nobody. Nobody, because happiness is our posture, the comfortable posture. So, whenever I am becoming misaligned from my posture, it means the soul is losing its power, its willpower, its confidence. Call it the soul power, the inner power, whatever you want to label it. And a person who's weak, for them, every small little task, oh my gosh, I have to cook, oh my gosh, I have to clean, oh my gosh, I have to do this. Every small little thing, you add one small thing in their plate, huge burden. Day by day, this sadness eats away our power to face life, power to tolerate certain situations. Everything is gone for a person who is constantly experiencing sadness. And like I just said, not even wanting to do simple things. Maybe simple things like making my bed before I sleep. Well, that could also be due to laziness, but many different kind of things, like simple things cannot do. And they are very, very unenthusiastic about the present itself and about future. They feel they can never come out from this miserable state. And because their inner being is so pulled towards, because if we continue to create sadness, right? Again, one more aspect of our design is whatever habit or personality we use, it deepens. The impression of it in our subconscious mind deepens. And whatever deepens, so 90% of our life is lived in an autopilot mode. Our subconscious, whatever we have used a lot, the way of living, it directs us to live it again like that. So we are reliving 90% of our life in whatever we did in the past, nothing new. And if my past is filled by living in thinking about things that make me sad, I will not want to interact with anyone, someone who's trying to distract me, make me happy. No, I am so used to being sad. So interactions start becoming very, very difficult. And this is such a huge damage to the family, right? Because in family, it's important to connect with each other. And if I am so consumed by my inner call of constantly wanting to be sad, there is nobody else I can connect to. And indeed the vibrations of the home become very, very negative. We've heard about vibrations maybe a lot. And if you think about, whenever we visit church or temple, we immediately feel the vibrations there. And we wouldn't even have thought about what we are going to say, some things, but immediately thoughts of thank you, sending blessings to others. May everyone be happy. They're having some problems. Hope their problems go away. I'm so thankful for so many things I have. Why do these thoughts with full force start coming there? It's because everyone who's visited there created those kind of thoughts. So our aura is created through our thoughts, and a aura of the a particular place is created with the bunch of people who are living there. So if a parent is very, very sad all the time, then that house will eventually become filled with sadness. Now, only I was creating sadness earlier, but because I am pouring it constantly, you can think about the whole world as a collective pool of consciousness, and our house is a small part of that world, right? So, in this small pool of collective consciousness, what am I pouring? Sadness, sadness, sadness. Now, just like when we went to temple, we absorbed the vibrations there. Guess who is going to absorb the vibrations of sadness? My family. Every member of the family will get affected unless they are taking care of their aura, meaning they know how to stay positive, they're practicing meditation, or they have a lot of soul power. They cannot protect themselves from the negative vibrations that are coming from a person who's very, very sad. So, a parent's responsibility is not just driving the kids around and, you know, um, taking them, making things for them or cleaning certain things for them. It's not just the chores. The biggest responsibility, indeed, I think we would all agree, is to create a secured and loving environment. And I might, some of us, when we start this, um, this habit of becoming sad, we are good actors. We will try to smile outside and hide it off. But guess what? Every thought is being radiated into the house. And this is not again to feel overwhelmed, but to be aware what are the consequences of our every action. And once we realize the consequence, that is what motivates us to change. If we don't even know, if we are ignorant, then it's as good as not knowing anything, but still the damage is happening, right, to the family. So it's better to be aware and work towards it. And yes, sometimes we will still continue to be negative, but saying I don't even have time to take care of myself, I'm too busy, is a very lame excuse of saying, oh, well, I can't protect my house because I'm too busy. And I was one of them. 6 years back, I used to think my life was so, so busy. By Friday, I would be so dead tired and I would not want to talk with her. Not because I was sad, but just so exhausted with doing so many things. And that's when this whole meditation and everything came to my life. And now I'm doing twice as much as I did before. And I'm feeling so light and happy. So I would highly recommend taking out time for yourself and making sure that you are in a comfortable posture. You're not in a negative posture, because this is one of the biggest damage we do. We spoil the vibrations of the house, and unknowingly we instill many belief systems in our kids, which is life is meant to be sorrowful. And that is when this child also will take a lot of steps of caution, thinking there is no point of trying too much, you will only get more and more pain. So many incorrect belief systems. And the child also then learns how to remain sad. And it's a very, I mean, here we are to raise them as a confident kid, a well nurtured kid. And here they are unknowingly acquiring sadness from us. Now, what are the vitamins that we need to take to cure depression? Right? So, we talked about two reasons. One was guilt, and the other one was attachment. So really just kind of, kind of trying to make it interesting and keeping everything with D, D, D. So sometimes words might not make sense. But just so that you all understand it, it is very, very important to love thyself. We cannot correct ourselves till we fall in love with ourselves. And indeed, the good and the bad. Like everything about yourself, there is nobody in this world. Well, there are few actually who've reached this stage where there is only good in them. At least I know few in Brahma Kumaris who have really worked on themselves a lot. But in general, majority of people in this world, there is good and bad. It is impossible that nobody has anything good, and it is impossible that nobody has anything bad. But does it mean I don't love myself? No, we need to love because love is the only emotion that uplifts, transforms. Anger is something that attacks. It attacks the self esteem, the power of the soul. And after you've taken away the power, how can a weak person change? They will make the same mistake. Maybe for some time, because I've attacked myself too much, I will be little kind of like really in tension and attention. So yes, I might be okay, but I continue to attack myself. Guess what? Many parents have acknowledged they make even more bigger mistakes by using guilt as a way to punish themselves. So, for example, I might have yelled at the kid and called them all kinds of names, and now I'm feeling very, very bad about it. And or maybe my kid wanted me to do something, and I was not there for them for some time or whatever they needed me really, and I was not there. And suppose I'm attacking myself, attacking myself. What I've heard from parents who do this is that they do these kind of mistakes even more at a higher intensity after some time. Why? Because a weak person will make even more mistakes. So take the time to be delighted with every little success you have. You smiled at someone, be happy. That, oh my gosh, I smiled at someone and made them happy. Not in a, arrogant or feeling boastful, but simple, pure pride that indeed I'm a beautiful being. I'm doing small, small things for everyone. My existence, there is a purpose. I am contributing. Refuse to listen to your bully voice which says you are useless, you are valueless. No. And yes, I need to acknowledge where all I have not been valueless, where all I have been bad, and work on it. If I don't work on it, indeed, this guilt will continue. But I need to maintain hope and faith, then work on my things that need to be improved. And that is why, when I understand through spirituality that forgetting can only happen when I forgive, and forgiving can happen only when I understand the importance of wanting to change and maintaining the soul power. I need love. Forgiving is nothing but a form of love, right? So it's only when I forgive myself that past memory will be forgotten. And yes, if it means going and apologizing to the child or whoever I might have caused some damage, yes, let's be humble enough to go and apologize to anyone if we can. And many times Do it in meditation. If you can't go and talk in person, invoke that person in your meditation. Send them these vibrations. I apologize, sincerely apologize for what I have done. And have this undaunting faith in you that you are a good parent. Your heart is in the right place. If you're feeling guilty, there is indeed, you need to acknowledge that you're feeling guilty because you want to be a better parent. Now, we just have realized through wisdom that guilt does not help, but faith that yes, parenting is an art and whole life is spent in learning. And our kids teach us beautifully, right? So, why be mad at ourselves? Maintain unshakable faith. Every day, call yourself, I am a beautiful parent. Today, I learned this, and tomorrow, I will learn this. Detachment. The second thing, this basically where we were talking about that if my child is sad, is going through some tough phase, could be health issues, could be studies, could be just some other difficulties in their life, could be anything, right? And suppose the child is sad or in pain, then should the parent be jumping in joy? This is this what is detachment? No, that is not detachment, that is insensitivity. Then what is detachment? Detachment is the true form of love. It is saying that yes, you are going through a difficult time, but I maintain full faith that you will come out of it. And I am here for you in whatever way, whenever you need it. And it doesn't have to be always in words. This is the only, again, if we realize that we are souls, our every thought reaches the other person, especially the ones who are close to us. Day in, day out, we are thinking about them. Our thoughts reach them very, very quickly. So, if every day, so suppose if I'm crying, right? Attachment. And we think attachment is love. My child is sad. Obviously, I will be sad. How can I smile? In fact, in society, many people will even comment and you look at that mom. She didn't even have one tear. Her child is going through so much, and look at her. She's not even crying. Why am I not crying? Because when I am crying, can I maintain this faith that my child will come out of it? When I'm crying, can I lend any support to the child? I myself have become weak. Yes, I will take care of the bare minimum, cook for them and give the medicine to them. But other than that, suppose the child goes into even further bad condition, then what? Sometimes no medical help, or maybe it's not a medical issue. Suppose it is some other issue that the child is going through. Now, I am the person who thinks love basically means sad. If someone is sad, be sad. No, love and sadness don't go together. One is positive, one is negative. Detachment means I understand the pain my child is going through. But I maintain this unshakable faith that every soul's natural quality is to be happy, to be powerful, to be wise, to be peaceful. These are our natural qualities. So I don't have faith just in my qualities, but also in my child's qualities. So, yes, this child has forgotten its natural quality, just like rest of the people in this world, and thinks sadness is natural, anger is natural. But I don't need to forget. I now know. So when I visualize this child as someone who's powerful, someone who's going to come out of and be naturally happy again, and this I have to do it for few days or weeks. It's a guarantee that this child's weakness or whatever that might be will be gone. or will reduce. Again, it depends upon how much this child is practicing it. But if I am weak, if I am very attached and I'm crying when my child is crying, I cannot send any vibrations, because what am I thinking? My child doesn't deserve this. I would say nobody in the world deserves sadness. Isn't that true? But what does attachment do? Makes us sit in the pond and look at only my and my child. We need to sit on the globe and see the kind of things that are happening to people in the world. That is when we become detached. And then we say, oh my gosh, not only my child, I want every child to not have this problem. This is something that someone like me, who's actually, generally I've been naturally very detached from quite some time, and this came from my mom, who was also a very detached person, and none of us really practiced spirituality before, but I guess some qualities, beautiful qualities, stay in all of us. And someone like me, after coming into the knowledge, I had went and I she did share this example, but I think it's good to bring it up again. When I went to drop my son to college, quite far off in the East Coast, he had quite a, generally he was always very happy, fun, and playful, had some sad thoughts. Oh my gosh, Labor Day is coming and I won't even be able to come because it's so far. I might be alone here, or few different things he said. And then he was okay after some time, forgotten, all happy. But I sat and took those thoughts and I started thinking a whole flight. After I dropped him, I was heavy. I came home, I kept calling. And he said, why are you calling so many times? And inside I was feeling, because I was practicing spirituality, it's like, what is going on? This is so unlike me. What is going on? And immediately I said, oh my gosh, this is attachment. So immediately I said, sit on the globe. Every student who's joined school now must be going through these emotions. Why are you thinking about only your child? Every parent must be feeling these emotions that you're feeling. Come on, sit on the globe, send vibrations to everyone, that they can manage being independent, that they are happy beings. Let every child have the courage and strength to adjust in college. These are my thoughts then. I changed them. And I sent a lot of vibrations to every parent that just dropped their child and came. Immediately detached. And I, after that, did not have any negative thought at all. I felt so calm. My child would have, after some time, gotten mad at me if I kept calling, because it is again very unlike me to call and check on things. So my child was also surprised. So, our biggest duty really is to give support and hope. It doesn't matter what the child is feeling, whether they are in an angry state at me or sad situation due to multiple factors. My biggest responsibility is to let the child know that there is hope. And on my face, they should clearly read that I am hopeful. This gives them so much strength, like nothing else can give them. It will give more strength than any medicine can. A parent maintaining this faith that you can come out of whatever you are going through, right? So, um, one last tip is really to maintain these beautiful qualities. Like I said in my meditation, very important to connect to the imperishable source, right? And I don't think I have a picture here, but really, this is that imperishable source. We are all these tiny dots of light, souls, energy, and this is the supreme source. This picture that I keep using is Nirvana, or home of the souls, and this is the supreme soul. So I do this exercise of coming and visiting this place through my mind many times throughout the day to charge my soul with every positive quality so that my posture becomes right. Even 1 2 second of this practice, if you do it regularly, you will see a huge difference in your life. this is me speaking out of now 6 years of practicing this. But let's open it up to questions now. um, so I'm going to stop sharing. um, yeah, feel free to ask your questions. I see a question here, which is basically how do you get out of this depression where something happened in the past where someone betrayed you, and because of that you lost your job. um, so there are few different things here. um, you know w- One is to really understand the damage that it does to you when you are not able to let go of that memory, right? Because every time you bring that memory up again depends upon your personality, and looks like the person who asked this question, maybe the personality where they are generally not, they are passive personality. Then there are two personalities, right? Which is, one is passive aggressive, one is passive, one is aggressive. So when we are passive we create a lot of disappointment, disheartenment, sadness. So we, who is getting damaged, if I understand that I am damaging myself the most, and unfortunately not just myself, unknowingly, if I have pain and sadness in my heart, then I will offload it to every member of my family. I cannot give love to my family if there is sadness, hurt, and hurt in my heart. We cannot fool anyone like this. So, very important to kind of, let go of these past hurts. I'm hoping you're all able to talk right now, right? I think
Yes,
yes. Yeah.
yes.
So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me now.
Uh, Sister, how do you practice detachment in your daily life? Because things happen, but how are you mindful about it and how can you practice it?
Yeah, yeah. Um, Meditation is indeed the key, and also spiritual knowledge. So even like if meditation indeed is the key for this, but end of the day, if I am able to do a check throughout the day, also I have a habit of throughout the day I'm watching my actions so that I can correct before it is too late. Suppose I became attached and the whole day I stayed like that, there will be a lot of damage that I will do, right? So constantly checking, am I becoming sad when my child is sad? Am I getting irritated when my child is not listening to everything that I am saying? Do I feel little bit of neglection when my child is not giving me the most attention? And that most attention could be in various different ways. I can't stand it that the child is getting too attached to the partner, to the grandparents, to friends, could be anything. These are all symptoms. So to understand the symptoms is important, and then constant check in between. Put alarms on your phone and check, how am I feeling? Am I feeling sad? Am I feeling mad? Attachment can lead to sadness or anger, fear, multiple things it will cause.
So, when you have these symptoms, what do you do?
Good question. Um, to understand, right, that this is wrong. My happiness does not depend upon the child. My happiness, this is, we are supposed to give happiness, right, to kids, and here we are become beggars of happiness. So I need to correct, no, I need to learn the art to be happy. And I can't put these conditions that my child needs to be like this, needs to listen to me, needs to agree with my idea, needs to only talk to me, needs to always be happy, needs to always get full grades. Indeed, meditation is the technique where I learn how to remain peaceful and happy by myself independently.
Thank you, sister.
We can take maybe one last question. So my practice, somebody asked about my practice. My practice really is indeed morning starts with meditation. I started only with 10 minutes of meditation with Brahma Kumaris, whatever I learned. And now I practice it for an hour, most of the times for an hour, sometimes 45 minutes, but generally it is an hour. But even 10 minutes gave me, I did 10 minutes, I think, almost for a year. Every day, though, whether I was sick or traveling, every day 10 minutes. And then I followed it by reading something empowering. Every day we need to feed our mind, then it tells us, hey, Meghna, you are getting detached right now. But if I don't even know what detachment is or what attachment is, then obviously I'm running blind. My life, I'm raising my kids blind, spiritually blind. Physical eyes is not important, not as important as spiritual eyes, what I feel. Obviously eyes are very important, but spiritual eyes, right? So once I feed my mind and tell it what is right, what is wrong, I will change my life accordingly. So every day follow it with 10 minutes. Don't please start your day with social media, news, emails. All of this spoil the mind. It's like giving junk and toxin food first thing in the morning, putting alcohol first thing in the morning, or putting some junky chips, sweets in the mind when we are starting our day like that. And then throughout the day, I have alarms where I just take few minutes. And I sometimes, when I don't even have those few minutes because at work it gets very busy, few seconds. Connect to the supreme source. Take the power, come back, and end the day with meditation. Evening also, there is 6:30 to 7:30. We typically try to practice at least half an hour. Yes, this one, really, you'll have to take the Raj Yoga meditation course to learn how to do it. I'm happy to go through this. I don't know who is taking the course, but I really don't know. You'd have to send the center email on our website and they might be able to tell you. But that Hindi course started yesterday, and I think another one might start today. Every month, this course is offered for free. So let's practice meditation for a few minutes if you have time. And then we'll meet next week with ego as our parenting deficiency. Bringing attention to the middle of my forehead, between the eyebrows, where I, the soul, the spiritual energy is residing. A tiny light shining like a star. I am separate from this body. The physical body is like my car, and I, the driver, the soul, is driving it to experience the journey of life. So I detach from my body, and through my mind, I see myself a tiny star crossing the physical world. the stars, the moon, everything, and reaching my home, Nirvana, where I see the presence. I feel it, a surge of spiritual energy within me. I sit in front of the Supreme Source and absorb the rays of peace, love, happiness, and power. I, the imperishable soul, is filled up with the imperishable qualities of the Supreme Being. Thank you, my dear God, for selflessly charging me up and making me independent. I am a naturally peaceful, loving, happy, and a powerful being. Thank you, everyone, for joining me today. Good afternoon and Om Shanti.
Thank you, Meghna. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti, sister. Thank you.
Shanti, everyone.
Om Shanti, sister.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti, sister.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti, sister.
Om Shanti, everyone.